I'm Sid, and these are my best friends. My mom, Kim, my dad, Ty, and my sister, Maddie, who before starting her own adventure, joined us in rocking out a state-of-the-art refit on our floating home. Now, we're ready to set sail to die with memories, not dreams, and live dauntless.
Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to discuss the ever-debated topic of propellers. And in a previous episode, we asked you what you thought we should put on our boat. And a lot of you reiterated the same thing that our friend Dave here put on his boat and what his suggestion was. But before we get into that, we'd like to formally introduce you to our friend Dave and tell you a little bit about how we met and why we're here. So, about a week after we bought our Leopard 50, we called down to Just Cats because we wanted to see, well, what looked like that hadn't sunk before we drove all the way to Georgia and dove into a project that we knew was going to be challenging, to say the least. So I called Just Cats, and they said, well, we have one Leopard 50 on the dock. Let's talk to the owner and see if he'll let you on. And that just happened to be Dave. And so we came down. Dave was so gracious to let us on the boat, gave us the full tour. And before you know it, me and my technical brain and Dave and his technical brain, we sat down and just started hashing out solutions for problems and all the fun stuff we were going to put on the boats. So,
and you gave me 6 more projects that I wasn't going to do on mine.
Yeah, sorry about that. So after the full tour, we're chatting about all our power systems and what have you. You know, where'd your boat come from? Where'd our boat come from? Wait a minute, why do you need to fix your boat? And Dave converted all of his stuff over to 24 volt from 12 volt.
Right.
I'm saying, hey, I need a bunch of 12 volt stuff. And well, if you have a new boat, why do you need all new 12 volt stuff? So I had to tell him. So what had happened was we bought a sunken boat, and so anyway, we're just chatting, and it comes up with we're sisters.
A discussion of
of
how long ago it had happened, and the discussion went down to very recent. It's a brand new boat, and it just come up, and then the discussion led to where and when and origin, and it came down to
it was delivery.
Your
you said,
hull
hey,
number.
Yeah, you said delivery. That was the delivery my boat was on. I'm like, wait, what's your hull number? What's my hull number?
They were sequential.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So now the boats sit
side by side on the dock,
once again,
and they're one hull number apart.
Right.
And yeah, it was kind of a really it was meant to be, guys. It's meant to be. And
pure coincidence.
But it's been a happy coincidence. It really has been a great time. And if you guys have seen us from obviously molding the bottom of Dave's keel so that we could fix our boat, they've been so generous to have us on their dock so that we can finish this 50 and go sailing together here, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Clearly, the ability to see the guts of this boat.
Yeah,
has helped me immensely with redoing some of the systems on the boat, but probably just as importantly, understanding the structure of the boat and how it's built.
Yeah,
and give you a nice warm fuzzy feeling that
it did.
It's really, really put together.
Because I saw a bunch of stuff that you would only see if the boat's wrecked. Right?
Exactly,
and so that kind of relationship worked out really good because I would say
gave great. Where does this electrical?
Right.
Where's this wire conduit go?
There's this wire that's missing, Dave. What does it go to? And he would say, "Hey, this is where it's at." And hey, I want to drill a hole here. I need to mount something there.
How's
that built? Well, here's the picture of what it looks like underneath. So it really kind of was definitely a good give and take back and forth, and we kind of help each other along. And
without a doubt, it's been wonderful.
It's been great.
Continues to be so.
Thanks, man. It's been, and our families really get along, and it's just been made this whole process of rehabbing this boat pleasant and really exciting because we kind of we come over to Dave and Colleen's boat and we get to see what it's going to look like when it's done, which I know we're Dauntless, but sometimes you get a little intimidated there, and you need a little bit of nudge just to get back on track again.
Well, and even for this past year that we've spent putting this thing together without any of the damage, and the level of frustration that we've had with parts that didn't show up on time and things breaking while you're doing everything, it was always easy to look over to Colleen and say, well, just look over there.
Yeah, look at the Armstrongs. Stop complaining, lady, because this is the bad stuff.
An instant reset. instant
It
attitude
does.
adjustment. So.
Well, at least hopefully we've been a little bit of an inspiration that,
absolutely.
And you can fix anything. So you just have to put your mind to it, and it does take help. It takes a village, as they say, but put the effort in. It's worth it in the end. And when you know that if anything happens to your boat, it's built like a tank, and there's people that can help you fix it if something happens.
Well, and the beautiful thing about seeing something happen to another boat is it's just it's been through my whole airline career is the best way to learn things is from somebody else's mistake or misfortune, and
which it's bad,
gets
but
you into the okay. I wouldn't have thought of that scenario, and now I have. It's presented in front of you and gives you an opportunity to Monday morning quarterback and
anybody that has that bad experience wants somebody else to learn from it, right? You don't want that to happen to somebody else. Now, we're fortunate enough that if it didn't happen to somebody else, we wouldn't be the proud owners of this awesome boat. However, you must have asked me 100 times, well, what happened here? Well, why did that happen? What was it? What was the location? What scenario? Because it's never one thing that makes a boat go down, right? It isn't a lost prop or a hole in the bottom. It's a sequence of events, and we all just want to protect ourselves from, that happening.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Always a learning experience.
Always a learning experience.
So as we were talking about before, there's more than one way to skin a cat, especially with the boat.
Absolutely.
And we had our first discussion about electrical systems, how to do that, and then we got into the discussion about props.
Right, because we had to fix the boat and move her. So I thought, okay, after we fill the holes in the bottom, we got to put something on these new sail drives to move this boat. And I didn't want to buy 2 sets of props, so what do you do? All right, so full disclosure, Dave has more than just boating experience, and if there's one person other than a sailor that you want to know about a propeller, who would you ask? Would be a pilot. Dave's been a pilot for how long?
37 years.
So, being a sailor for how long?
46 years.
He's got way more experience than us, so I figured, okay, if all of you said pick prop number 1, and Dave says pick prop number 1, we decided to pick prop number 1. But we're going to get into why. So, speaking of, again, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Every boat has a propeller. Every boat's got a propeller. It's got to. Even sailboats do. And this guy is what came off of Dave's boat originally. So there's feature benefits to this, right? So what would be some of the benefits other than the fact that it's already on your boat to just do a fixed prop?
It's inexpensive.
It is.
That's it.
That's it? Well, it's low maintenance. Right? Okay.
Well,
there's no adjustment to do to it other than keeping it clean.
I don't even know if I would. The maintenance part. Yeah. I mean, you nick edges. You do that. You have to. All right. You don't have to grease it. So there's a little bit.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right.
So
compared to what we're
obviously, if you're
right
watching this video, it's because you want something more than this. Now, the downsides of this we want to talk about because there's a reason why we're moving away from this prop. So let's talk about the downside. So what are the cons to a fixed prop?
Well, so when Robertson and Kane did the engineering for the boat, they came up with the right prop pitch and diameter and so forth,
right.
and in an RPM range for the motor to move this boat. So that's terrific when you're going in one direction like that. But then as soon as you want to go in reverse and you push it that way, you're no longer using the leading edge of the prop, you're using the trailing edge of the prop, and it doesn't work.
And your reverse thrust is not
highly inefficient.
Good.
It works, but as everybody knows, especially folks that have been in a monohull, going in reverse is exceedingly difficult without a good prop to do it. So specialized for a narrow range of performance. 3 blades, okay, a little more vibration, and an inexpensive solution on their part for the hub, and good for what it did, good for what it does for the price that it's worth.
So the other thing that I've noticed that is a downside, which we all know about, is drag. That's a lot of square footage. And if you're dragging this through the water, it slows your boat down. And catamarans have 2. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this puts about 100 plus pounds of drag on the boat.
Not about pounds of drag, but it's definitely worth
it's significant.
Between a half a knot and a knot of speed.
And anybody that's been on a long trip or is trying to run from weather knows that, well, half a knot or a knot doesn't seem like much until you're making that trip, and it's a big deal.
As a percentage of a boat going single digit speeds,
it's a big deal.
It's an awful lot.
So what are the other options? I'm looking at my notes here, guys. So we've got a folding prop, and folding props basically, as the rotational force, it throws the blades out, of course, which puts it into an aggressive attitude that allows it to drive through the water. Now, it doesn't do so good in reverse. In fact, it's even worse than a fixed prop in reverse, which is really frustrating. So folding prop does have some benefits. That's the next prop option that you've got. So as you're moving through the water and you're just sailing, the prop folds down on itself and produces very little drag. Mm-hmm. And
which is the original intention of a folding, any kind of folding prop on a boat. Get you that half a knot or knot of extra speed.
Race boats have it on. And I mean, it's fine if you're going it forward. It's got decent forward thrust, but the reverse thrust,
typically only 2 blades.
Yeah.
Although there's some folding props out there that are 3. I think Gory prop is 3 blades.
So they're also expensive. They're not cheap. A folding prop from a fixed blade is many X more.
Yeah, no doubt. The other benefits of folding props are just when you're going through a net or a line, there's something less to get caught on.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. But really, when it comes down to it, it's all about speed. But we all know as cruisers too, we spend a really large percentage of our time under power, rather than just
that's a misconception that people think that just because you have a sailboat that you're only going to move with the wind, and that's not true.
It just turns out that way.
Yeah.
So then the next thing you want to look at is your ability to have the necessary thrust to get you through what you need to do, whether it's going into an inlet that has a swift current going the other way, but probably just as important, if not more important, when you're going into a seaway and you're slamming into oncoming waves.
Oh man!
And I'm sure plenty of you have experienced that. You can go out there and you get slammed by a wave, it stops you.
Yeah,
then you go again, and then you stop.
And you stop.
And you go. So having a blade that has sufficient, a prop that has sufficient thrust on it is going to help you power through those scenarios.
Yeah.
And climb that wave and get you out of a situation where you need to. Plus, when you're maneuvering in tight spaces, the efficiency of the prop is really, really important.
Yeah.
Especially if it's of sufficient thrust, you're not having to use a whole lot of engine power. You can just go in and out of reverse and forward at neutral speeds, so you're not really stressing the engine out and getting the required thrust that you need to do some maneuvering in close quarters.
Well, let's talk about that. So that leads us to the third type of prop that is the most common that's out there. Well, I think it's the third and final, is going to be a feathering prop. So that gives us kind of the best of both worlds, and there's a bunch of different brands. We'll put some up here on the screen so you can see, and they all basically have the same principle, that as the engine's engaged, the prop's engaged, it's going to come into a position where you're going to get thrust either forward or reverse, and then as the engine or the prop does not have any power, it's going to feather out and create the smallest profile possible to reduce the drag, so that we're moving as quickly as we can when the prop's engaged, and we're moving as quickly as we can when the prop is not.
And the true magic of that kind of a mechanism is that when you do go into reverse, the blades actually reverse, so that when you're in reverse, you're actually using the leading edge of the foil, of the prop foil, which makes the reverse a whole different story.
And what prop is the best prop that does that?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I've been using a PYI for 23 years now. I had one of my Catalina 42, and again with the monohull, you have a lot more of a challenge than you do with two engines that you have on the catamaran, and it made maneuvering that boat a pleasure. And I was able to. I often was asked whether or not I had bow thrusters.
Did you have a bow thruster on the boat?
No.
Nice.
It made maneuvering the boat that much easier, and I had that much more confidence in the boat. Now, at the time when I got the prop, PYI was, well, I think one of the first in the market with this particular type of prop. And just like you said, there's a few other brands that use the same or similar mechanism to it. But the prop gave you the thrust that you needed to get in and out of the inlet when you had an outgoing current and incoming wind and standing 6-foot waves, half a boat length apart. You were able to power it right through them without an issue. And then once you got out there and turned off the engine, you could almost feel the boat give a little surge when the prop feathered. And the nice thing about the Max prop is it feathers with the water stream. You don't even have to put it into reverse, although if it's freshly greased, it'll be probably a little bit stiff. Yeah. And you'll use reverse to stop it from spinning and going into the feather position.
Yeah, we only have a few hours on ours, and I can feel like if I throw it in reverse, but we're still breaking our engines in, so we haven't quite hit the full, get everything.
You'll see real soon. It's just it'll end up just feathering itself without you doing anything, and obviously you'll see that you won't hear anything spinning. Right.
Well, let's talk about the pros and cons. Obviously, we've got thrust. We have basically zero profile when you're under sail. And close quarter maneuvering is unbelievable. So coming from a fixed prop and then moving in a fixed 3-blade prop, Dave and I had this conversation, and I'm looking at cost, because these, one of the cons is cost. They're
definitely
pricey.
They are pricey
without
a doubt.
And but for us, you took all the, and I can't think of any.
Of course, money is no object. It's for a good friend, right?
That's right.
I love driving it. It is so choice. If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
Trying to think, well, what is a con to this propeller other than cost? I really couldn't come up with any quantifiable negative to it necessarily. Have you come up with any negatives on the prop besides cost?
Well, for the 23 years that I've owned it, when you do haul for a bottom job, the first round of prop that I had, you disassembled it, cleaned it up, and re-greased it, replaced all the grease in it, and so forth. They really got it to the point now where you don't have to disassemble it. All you have to do is push new grease through it every year just to freshen that up.
I wouldn't say that's necessarily a con, though.
It's not a con. It's another step of something to do. But other than that, I mean, the upside to that is it forces you to inspect it closely.
Yeah.
And it has a zinc that a regular prop doesn't have on it.
Yeah, which protects that beautiful bronze. Yeah.
Right, which somebody might have a beef about. I don't know, but
they're dirt cheap, though. They're not.
No, the zincs are
they're very inexpensive.
And again, if you've done a good job on your electrical system, and you're fortunate enough to be in a marina that has a decent electrical system,
no dirty power.
That.
Yep.
Other than that, for the 23 years that I had the prop, I sent it in after 10 years. I sent it back to PYI, thinking they had a service where they could where they'll inspect it and then I guess, remachine it and make sure that everything is within tolerances. And again, after 10 years of use, I sent it up to them, and they shot me an email back and said, "Why'd you send it to us?"
we cleaned it for you.
They polished it up real nice.
Yep.
And sent it back to me, and I had it for another 13 years after that on the boat, and it's still going on its way to Guatemala as we speak.
And that's just impressive. So you're going to spend a little bit more money, but the quality of the product it's going to do what it says it's going to do. This isn't a high maintenance issue where you're constantly replacing bearings and all that other nonsense. And frankly, I want to buy it once.
That's it.
It's a buy nice or buy twice mentality. Which is where I kind of hung up. I'm like, oh, man, 3-blade prop, they're expensive. And I said, well, what did you put on your boat, Dave? And Dave said, well, I put the 4-blade on. And why did you choose a 4-blade over a 3? Because there's a cost difference there. I mean, it's 25% more.
No doubt. So, yeah, cost difference, but again, back to the thrust. That it's all about the power. So you and I both have the 80 horsepower motors on the vessel, and instead of the 57. And if you want to use the extra 30 horsepower or the extra 22 horsepower that we have on it, then okay, put 4 blades on there. But more importantly than that, the 4 blades, again, in a seaway scenario, that the 4 blades are going to give you the power you need to push through and not get stopped every single time you get hit by a.
It has a tremendous amount of thrust and torque,
right.
And for me,
and again, close quarter maneuvering, just being
that's
able
what I was
to,
just getting ready to say.
Right, click it in and out of neutral. You don't have to rev the engine high, and it's you get just a ton of thrust
on the 450. She's got great Yanmar 57s. It's a great boat. I've got a fixed blade prop on it, and it does work.
Sure.
But there's nothing wrong with it necessarily.
No.
But I will say that I'm having to use way more thrust, and I'm having to really, I'm having longer throws in the throttle to be able to make adjustments. And when I told Dave, I said I'm kind of nervous coming down this channel here to be able to park the boat because I'm going to be in close quarter maneuvering. Now we motored the boat all the way down here, but I'm getting in tight. And I did have a few marinas that we came into on the way down, and man, I'm telling you what, it just clicks into gear.
Instant response.
At idle, and you can
response.
instantly feel the response. So you're literally in and out of gear is all you're doing in close quarter maneuvering. And that right there, when you're protecting your investment, your boat, in our case, a brand new paint job, all of those things, it slows pro. And it really allows you to have slow, mastered control over the vessel. It
enables you to exactly. It enables you to do things at a slow speed with positive, with positive action. On it. It's not slow because the prop is slipping through the water.
Right.
So, and then the other nice thing too is you have the ability to really fine tune the pitch on the prop. Diameter obviously stays the same.
Yeah, it's fixed. We did a 20 blade,
but you can
20
adjust.
20-inch 4-blade is what we put on.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can adjust. Now, PYI has recommendations for pitch based on the engine and the boat type that you have, and those are great numbers. But what I found was if we were doing a long crossing where we were going to be really under sail and blue water for quite some time, I would put one extra degree of pitch in there, because if you're motor sailing with that extra degree of pitch in there, you end up having the prop ends up being a little more efficient in pushing you through the water, because most of the effort of pushing your water is the sail.
Correct. And
that prop gives you just a little bit firmer thing. Now that what that doesn't allow you to do is get max RPMs when you need to.
Well, let's back up on that too, because not everybody understands what motor sailing is. So it's when you're sailing with the motor running. I know it seems kind of silly, but it has a unique effect on a turning propeller. So if you're just motoring the boat, the propeller's moving the boat, and when you're sailing the boat, the sail moves the boat. But if they're not if they're not harmoniously working together, so this propeller allows you to kind of tune for what you're going to be using it for, kind of like the Gory prop does. It kind of, in theory, they're doing that.
Right. Let's not make a mistake here. It's not a variable pitch propeller.
No.
You set it, and it stays at the pitch you set it at.
Yeah, you have to get in there and physically turn screws to be able to make stuff happen.
Right. The nicer, the newer models of the PYI allow you to do that really with just a quick dive.
Yeah, in the water.
And it's a quick adjustment you can do. And again, if the only time that I ever did that, if I knew I was going for a long stretch where I was going to be in open water and most likely motor sailing.
So Atlantic crossing or something like that, maybe.
There you go. That's a good reason for something like that. But again, it's an option. It's not something you necessarily have to do.
And the propellers are rotationally specific as well. So if your boat is a left hand rotating prop or a right hand rotating prop, that's actually an adjustment. You don't need to buy a different propeller. Let's say if you had to do a power upgrade on the boat, and something's turning a different direction, like a sail drive or something, or a shaft drive. Sorry.
Which brings up the subject of adverse yaw and P factor on propellers, and that's basically,
that sounds like a fancy term.
when you have a propeller, the down swinging blade actually has a tiny bit more thrust than the upswinging one, and it has a tendency to push the boat one way. Everybody out there who's a monohull sailor knows about prop walk.
Yep.
and using that to your advantage, especially in reverse. That's kind of what's going on with the propeller. And so everything being equal, if you just set your rudder straight and you put your engine on there, sooner or later you're going to start turning in the direction of the whichever way the prop is rotating, but you'll turn the direction of that adverse yaw. And Ty came up with an interesting thought, because we were thinking about it on this boat. It's 2 engines, and on a lot of twin engine airplanes, they have counter rotating propellers on it.
And every boat in that boatyard that we were at was for big boats. Every one of those props counter rotated.
Right.
Every single one of them.
And in one of the, Ty brought up the interesting point of it. Gee, why don't we have counter rotating props? I hadn't thought of it, because Yanmar says our transmissions go this way. So
I thought I was kind of smart on that one. Even the pilot didn't think of it. So we did that, and if you jump back to the video, and I'll have Sid put it here, or it'll be down in the description. Jump back to that video where we talk about how to change the rotation, because the cool thing about a sail drive is it doesn't care which direction it's spinning. So you have to change the input control, obviously, but after that, it doesn't really care. So I ordered a left rotating prop, and I ordered a right rotating prop, and our props turn outwards. Well, if you guys are looking at it, they turn this way. And another thing with close quarter maneuvering, with a counter rotating prop, other than tracking straight through the water, and you're not getting any slippage or losing any
right, you're not after putting any rudder input to counteract that. And when you put that rudder input to counteract that, you're adding drag. When you're adding drag,
slows you down.
You're slowing it down. And again, back to when you're sailing in single digit numbers.
Everyone's like, oh, what does a knot mean? Well, when you're talking about 7 knots, a knot means a lot.
Going across an ocean.
It sure does.
A few days.
So close quarter maneuvering is actually so cool. So if I'm at the helm and I'm coming towards you guys, and my props are rotating like this, and I'm in a marina and I'm giving way to somebody, and I've got wind pushing one of my bows one direction or the other, all I have to do is click the leeward engine, or the engine on the side that the wind is not blowing from, and I put that in gear, and it is just enough rotational force that it actually will hold the boat in position with very little forward and aft movement. And I click in and out, and it'll sit there and hold that boat, because the wind is counteracting the prop, trying to rotate the boat, and it holds it in position. I tell you what, that was amazing to be able to have that. So as soon as Dave hauls his boat again, we're gonna flip that around, and
which is also the cool thing about these props, because I don't have to get a new prop. All I gotta do is flip blades, and we're
2
done.
screws and spin them around, and
that's it.
Yeah, and the 4 blade. other than the cost deal, we were talking about thrust, but you said something about balance and about vibration on a 4-blade prop.
Again, straight up the 4 blades makes that prop more balanced. You don't feel the vibration that you do on a 3-blade prop, fixed or otherwise.
Yeah.
And that just makes for a lot more pleasant ride. Number one, but number two, less vibration on your engines means things don't fall apart as quickly.
And it doesn't vibrate that bubbles out of your soda.
That's it. So also very important.
It's been an awesome experience. Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate it.
No. Thanks for you guys too.
Well, anything that we can do. They're getting to leave to go to the Bahamas, and well, we're gonna have to wait a little bit because we have to finish our boat. But
we hope that you are hot on our tail, and going into the future. We're thinking about taking a trip across.
Well, Kim wants to go. She said Italy by 50, and this year she's going to be 50. So,
and it's our 25th wedding anniversary, I think, and I was told that we're doing that in the mid.
Yeah.
So
we actually got married the same year, too. Mm-hmm. Man, it's just weird.
So wouldn't that be super cool for sister ships to cross?
Absolutely.
All right.
And here we go. But in the meantime, we're going to join them in the flotilla in the Exumas here in the month and a half. We'll take some awesome footage of that. We'll get to dip our toe in some crystal clear water to help boost up that motivation.
Right on.
We'll film that for you guys, and you're going to see this face again. So thanks again, guys. Remember, if you like this video, please give it a like. Leave us a comment down below. And as always, thank you so much, and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.
See you again soon.